StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we're getting into part 2 of our series, Who Should You Sell To? The answer is not to everyone, especially those of you who are in high touch sales. Before we get into this, I'll remind you of 2 things. First of all, my daily and Monday motivation texts is guaranteed every week, every day and every week, respectively, to keep you focused, sharp, and on point, or to get you there. If you are not in my text community yet, text me now. So when we start sending those text messages again, you'll be getting them straight to your phone again at 305-384-6894. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is a place where I do all my coaching. If you would like to have me as your direct coach, that is the only way to make it happen. It is an easy way to make it happen. All you do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can see what our program is about, or at least a good summary of what the program is about. Then you can schedule a time to get on a call with us, and we can talk about where you're at, where you want to go, what you feel like might be in your way. And if we feel you'd be a good fit for what we're doing and we believe we can help you, we'll let you know that, and we'll tell you how it works from there. Again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com. With all that out the way, let's pick it up right where we left off here. Again, we are on part 2 of what is a 2-part series. Who should you sell to in your business, and why should you sell to these people? All right, point number 4. You want to sell to the implementers. What is an implementer? An implementer is a person who takes the things that they know and the things that they should, could, and would do, and they actually do it. Imagine that. What a novel idea. What an amazing brand new concept. Actually implementing the material that you've been given and doing the stuff that you know you need to be doing. How many of you have ever worked with someone and you told them the things that they needed to do, but they didn't actually do it? All right. How many of you have ever been the person who knows what you need to do, but you have not actually done it? All right. I want to work with implementers. I want to work with people who, if I tell them, all right, here are the 7 things you need to do between now and next week, then next week when we talk, you just tell me what you did. You tell me that you did the 7 things. Tell me the kind of response or the result you got from the 7 things that you did. And then we go and we continue moving from there. I don't want to talk to somebody who I give them 7 things to do, and the next time I talk to them, they're like, well, I didn't do any of the 7 things. I thought about them. I looked at them, but I didn't actually get around to it. That's the opposite of an implementer. I don't know what you want to call that person, but it ain't an implementer. Anything that you're selling, folks, you want to sell to people who actually use it, implement it, and make the product or service look good because they're using it. All right, that's what you want. That's what an implementer is. They make your product or service look good because they take it, utilize it, and they get a positive benefit from it, which makes you and your product look good because they got a positive result from it. The reason they got a positive result is, yes, because your product is good, but also because they did something. If they hadn't done anything with your product, doesn't matter how good your product is. And we agree. And you ever sold a product to someone who didn't use it? Okay, so did the product prove to be good for them? Not really, because they didn't do anything. They didn't use it. So how can we know that your product's any good? Not based on them, you can't. You can sell your product to 100 different people, but you might only get 30 testimonials because only 30 people used the product. The other 70 didn't do anything with it. So you don't want those 70, you want the 30. Now, again, depending on what kind of sales you're doing. If you're doing high touch sales where you had to deal with these people consistently, you want the implementers because now you have something to actually do. If you got people who don't implement, well, what are you going to talk about? Ain't nothing to talk about because they're not doing anything. They haven't implemented what you gave them last time, so I guess you got to give them the same speech all over again, which is fine, but eventually you might get tired of that, and they might too. Okay? People who do not implement and don't use the things that they buy usually end up regretting their purchases. They don't buy again. They regret their purchase, number one, which means they're projecting some of their energy probably onto you because you sold it to them. They usually don't buy again. So you got the first dollar from that person. Usually you don't get the second dollar because their failure to implement means that they have no reason to buy from you again because they didn't even finish buying the first time. So they are not going to buy again. And of course, they may even come back and they don't even want the product anymore. They may bring it back to the store and say, hey, I don't want it because I'm not using it. And it's not because they didn't need it, simply because they lacked the ability to follow through and implement with the product, which means you should never sold to them in the first place because this entire process, you end up at a zero-sum situation and nothing was gained in the process. They didn't get anything, you didn't get anything, and you had to go through the pain and agony of selling to them in the first place and then returning to them after that, then returning it to you after it because they didn't do anything. You don't want to have to deal with these people. They are headaches. All right, so do not sell to people who do not demonstrate a habit for implementation. And usually, people who have a habit for implementation, you know what you can notice about them before they even come around you? They're already winning. They are already successful. They are already implementing things. Just not the stuff they got from you because they didn't get it yet. But they already have a habit of implementation. You can even ask them the question, all right, before you sell to them, hey, all right, I need people who implement and actually going to do something here. Are you sure this is what you're ready to do? All right, so again, the people who don't implement are not worth the money that you can make from them because you won't look good, they won't look good, and neither of you is going to feel good about the process. Remember, I heard Tony Robbins on one of his tapes. I got a bunch of Tony's tapes, and one of his tapes he was talking about how he was coaching some person, or he was about to coach this person. I can't remember what he was going to coach them on, but he was talking about, I think what he was talking about was just bringing people over a threshold to where they can no longer turn back and go back to their old habits. He said he was sitting with this guy and talking to him and telling him about how his coaching worked and all of that stuff. And this guy was willing to hire Tony for coaching. He was going to pay Tony. And then Tony said, you know what? I'm not sure that I can coach you. I'm not sure that this is going to be a good fit. This is what Tony is saying to the prospect. And the prospect is kind of surprised. And he's like, well, why? What do you mean? And Tony said, well, see, the thing is, I only coach people who are ready to make a change right now. I'm not coaching people who want to make a change in 6 months and in 6 weeks, and maybe we'll get around to it. I only want to coach people who want to do something now. So if you're not serious about doing something now, then I don't think this is a good idea. And then the person basically started selling themselves to Tony about why they wanted the coaching. And he was talking about it in terms of the threshold, but it's also a sales technique, and it also is a real thing. It works. Because if a person is not really ready to take action, then it doesn't matter that they buy from you because they ain't going to do shit. And again, nobody wins in that situation. So you don't want to sell to a non-implementer. And if you're a buyer, make sure you implement whatever it is that you buy so you don't feel stupid and you don't make the person who sold to you look dumb because you didn't get a result from the product, and it has nothing to do with them or the product. It has everything to do with you. Point number 5, rather, or the second point today, but point number 5 in our mini series here, we're talking about who you should sell to, and the answer is not everybody. Number 5, people who are properly aligned. Properly aligned. This alignment, when I say this can occur in multiple ways. Alignment just means people who are on the same wavelength. They're seeing things the same way. They have the same mentality. One of them is an alignment of mindset. Right. The people who you sell to, you want people who have a similar mindset, at least in some areas, the areas that matter the most, when it comes to the product or service that they are buying and you are selling, and the reason why they're getting it. You need to be mentally aligned with these people. So, for example, when I tell you here at Work on Your Game and Work on Your Game University, that the foundation of everything we do here is mindset. Mindset is very important. Even if you think the change that you need is strategic and tactical, and you may be right technically, on the surface you're right, the fact of the matter is, in order for you to make that strategic and tactical change, something about the way you think has to change first, then we can change the mindset. If you do not align with that belief, if you don't understand that, or you will not come to grips with it and come to appreciate it, even after I explain it to you, looking at your specific situation, then we are not aligned, and I probably won't be able to help you because you have one idea and I have a different idea. My idea is better than yours, therefore I would not even want you in my program. Because first of all, you're just proving you're not coachable, because I know what the hell I'm talking about. So if I was to explain that to somebody and they still don't agree, well, I shouldn't be coaching you because you ain't coachable. You don't want to be coached. What you coming to me for? Go talk to somebody who thinks the way you think, and then maybe you should coach them. All right, that's what I would say to a person who did that. It hasn't happened to me, but if it did, that's exactly what I would say. So this alignment can be mental. All right, do people who you sell to have the same mentality as you when it comes to the product or service they are buying and the reason why they're getting it? Those who are aligned are much more likely to get a positive benefit from the thing that they buy than those who are not. In other words, when you buy something that you actually want and you are happy that you got it, and your idea of why you got it is the same as the idea of the person who sold it to you, there's a better chance you get a result from it than if you hate the product that you bought because maybe you were forced to buy it, or whatever the situation may be. I don't know what other reason why somebody will buy something. I guess if it's something that's forced purchased, then maybe you won't get as much benefit from it because, again, they made you do it. For example, when you go to school in college, I don't know what they do these days, but in college, when I was in school, they made you go to the bookstore and you had to buy these textbooks for $65. And at the end of the semester, you would sell it back to the bookstore for like $11. Now, I didn't like buying those textbooks, but I was forced to buy the textbook, at least in the classes where I couldn't get away with not having the textbook. So I didn't get as much benefit from that purchase, even though I was forced to make the purchase because I didn't want to make the purchase. I was not mentally aligned with the product. All right, that's what I mean by that. So you don't want to be in that situation. You rather buy something that you actually want so that you can get maximum benefit from it. Another situation is I went to an orthopedist a couple of years ago because I was having a knee issue. that I thought maybe a doctor could resolve. And his conclusion, his prescription was, we're going to put a shot. It was either cortisol or cortisone. I don't know if they're the same thing. Cortisol, cortisone, whatever, into your knee. It's going to destabilize your knee for like 8 weeks, is what he said. We're going to put you in a walking boot / cast. And then after 8 weeks, I'm going to send you to our guy who's a physical therapist to help you get back in shape. I was not aligned with that prescription. Therefore, I did not follow it. I went to a guy who I know, who is an independent guy who knows how to work on the physical body. I paid this guy $100 for a 1-hour session. He showed me some exercises to do. It cleared up my knee problems in about 6 weeks, and I haven't had a single knee issue since, as opposed to paying that doctor who was just doing what the medical system taught him to do. I don't think he was a bad guy, but what the medical system teaches him to do. If you want to hear what I had to say about the American medical system, then you can go ahead and refer yourself to episode number 2338, where I described the trash that is the American medical system. So if you didn't know I've spoken about that, I've spoken about it. Also, you can read my article about when my son was born, and I'll tell you more about the trash of the medical system in America if you are so inclined to know. So anyway, one caveat to everything I've said so far here is that sometimes people can use a product for a completely different reason than why you made it, and they can be completely happy with that. So if that is a possibility, you can note that as well. Sometimes people just have a different idea about what to do with your product, but they like their own idea and they're happy. All right, don't be mad at them. So take this moment with a grain of salt, this point that I'm giving you here, depending on what it is that you're selling and how much involvement you need to have after the purchase is made. Because if you're selling people something that they can use however they want, then it ain't your business. So if you're Walmart or Walgreens and somebody comes in the store and buys stuff, you don't care what they do with it, because they're not coming back. As long as they use it and they're happy, all right, then you can be happy too. But if you're selling something where you have to continually work with the person, then you do care, because how they use it is going to reflect on you in some way, shape, or form. And you may have to deal with how they're using it for whatever reason, again, depending on what you're selling. So if somebody's buying hammers and nails from you and you're Home Depot, all right, they do whatever they want. You don't have to be in alignment. But if you're selling life coaching or you're a therapist, you probably want to have strong alignment with this person, or at least be able to communicate with them, because there will be a lot of involvement between you and your client after the purchase, as opposed to, again, Walgreens, where there's zero involvement after the purchase. Point number 6. Today's topic, once again, is who should you sell to? The answer is not everyone. Number 6, sell to people who are positive and happy. Sell to people who are positive and happy. My favorite book of all time is Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. And in that book, one of the chapters, I forget what number it is, but one of the chapters is infection. The law of infection, which says avoid people who are unhappy and unlucky, because their negative energy will infect you and it will bring you down to their level. Understand something about negative energy and positive energy, folks. Negative energy is stronger, it is triggered more easily, and it spreads faster. Meaning, if you put negative energy and positive energy in equal amounts next to each other, negative energy usually wins. You need like 20 times the positive energy to undo the power of 1 unit of negative energy. So you don't want to get around negative people thinking that your positive will bring them up. No, it will not. Your positive will not beat their negative, and they have a lot more experience. And again, it's much easier to trigger negative than it is to trigger positive. Keep negative people away from you. People who are losers and people who are unlucky and unhappy are not worth trying to save, or let them drown if they need to drown. It is not your responsibility. You are not God. Save people who want to be saved. Save the people who are swimming towards the ladder. The people who ain't swimming towards the ladder, but they're stranded in the ocean, or clearly they don't want to get saved. They see the damn ladder, don't they? Okay, let them drown. All right, that is their choice. It is not your responsibility. It's not on your conscience. Work with the positive and the happy. Generally, you want to deal with people who are, again, they have positive energy, because positive and happy people tend to do what? You know what they tend to do? They tend to draw positive and happy outcomes into their lives. All right, it seems like a magic trick, but it's not magic. All right, they tend to draw positive and happy situations, energy, people, and outcomes. That's what happens. Why? Because they're positive. Because they are positive, they attract positive. And when you're negative, you attract negative. Is anybody unfamiliar with this concept? Okay, we all know about it, right? It's the law of magnetism. We attract what we are. So if you find yourself attracting too many unhappy and unlucky and negative people into your life, you need to check your energy. And if you're attracting positive, happy, and successful people into your life, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Get more people like that. People who are negative and unhappy tend to draw the exact same energy, people, and outcomes into their lives as the energy that they are projecting. Do not try to save these people. Again, they will kill you with experience. They will defeat you. And as I already told you, do not make the mistake of thinking that you can play God, or that you're some type of damn magician. you're going to change someone from being negative into being positive by the strength of your own energy. I just refuted that concept a couple minutes ago. Negative is stronger than positive. 1 unit of negative and 1 unit of positive is not a cancel out. That does not equal zero. No, it is not a zero-sum game. Negative energy is way stronger and way more potent than positive energy. So do not try to defeat their energy with yours. Again, learn at your own risk if you wish. Try to bring somebody out of the doldrums if you want to, and you're going to end up down there with them. That's what's going to happen. And don't say nobody warned you. Because what's going to happen is you're going to fail. As I already told you, negative energy is stronger, it moves faster. And even if you are strong enough to succeed in bringing this person out of the negative into the positive, why would you waste your resources on that when you got to use 100 units of your own energy to bring this negative person into neutral? You could have simply used that same positive energy, work with someone who's already aligned with you energetically, where now you can get synergy. 1 + 1 = 3. And you can start multiplying your results working with more positive people rather than pulling yourself down to neutral just to pull this negative person up to neutral. Why do that? What's the point? You're a social worker? Or if you are, that's cool. But usually those are the people I work with. I've never had a social worker in my coaching program. All right. I don't think that's what most of you do. All right. Dan Kennedy had a funny line. He said he would have been the most efficient social worker in history. All right. Who's up next? You? All right. Get a job. Next. You get a job. Next. It's a funny joke the way he says it. But any of you who knows what social work is, you get the point. The whole thing is here. I'm not here to encourage you to don't be a social worker here. All right. You can be a social, if that's what you do for a living, more power to you. But this ain't that. All right. That's not who I'm talking to. I'm talking to people who want to work with winners and you want to create more winners. All right. If you want to go work with the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, you have every right to do so. I'm telling you that the message that I give here on this show is not targeted towards you, nor is it targeted towards you helping those people, because the things that I'm giving you here are for people who want to hear it. And people down there usually don't want to hear it. That's the reason that they're there in the first place. In case you didn't know, that's how they got there in the first place. And listen, any shit you want to tell me about, well, some people don't stay in the same spot, and some people start in a certain position and they have to work their ways up and this and that. And listen, I'm from the environments of those people that you're talking about. And you see me, don't you? You hear me, don't you? Okay, so I don't want to hear that shit. Long story short, I told you in episode 876, motivation is only for the motivated. You know the type of people who go and sign up for something that's called motivation? You know who those people are? People who are already motivated. Notice the people who are losers and they're never motivated and never have any energy. Notice how they never sign up for anything called motivation. Have you ever thought about that? Motivation is for the motivated people. It is not for people who don't have any energy and they're not serious about success. Motivated people go to conferences. Motivated people hire coaches. Motivated people buy books. Motivated people listen to shows like this one. The losers who quote unquote need this material, they ain't looking for it. Have you ever thought about that? Is that a surprise to you to even consider? Well, I will tell you, whether you're surprised or not, it's the truth. I know. And I got probably more experience dealing with those people than you do. But if you got more than me, start your own show. You tell me. Let's recap today's class, which we're picking up on part 2 of 2, which is who should you sell to? And the answer is not everybody. Number 4, implementers. Anything that you're selling, you want to sell to people who actually use it, implement it, and get positive outcomes from it, because that'll make you look good. It'll make them happy. And then it means they'll buy from you again. Win, win, win. Number 3, people who are properly aligned. They can align with you mindset-wise. They can align with you action-wise. They can align with you energetically. Ideally, you want to work with people who align with you in all 3 ways. And yes, do not think that you need to go find people who you need to change. You need to bring them up from where they are and help them and pull them from the bottom up to the top. Don't do this. I know it sounds good. It's maybe what you read in some religious text and what you think people who are high-level individuals actually do. No, they do not. What high-level individuals do, I'm one of them, and I know a bunch of them, is that we go find people who are already winning and we help them win more. And they are happy to be helped by us. All right, do not go find the people at the bottom and try to pull them up to the top. They don't want to be at the top, because if they wanted to be, guess what? They would be climbing up already without your help. If you're going to make them climb up, all right, you're going to get tired and they may end up pulling you down to the bottom rather than you pulling them up to the top. All right, you ain't God, you ain't Jesus, don't try to be. Number 6, positive and happy. Positive and happy people tend to attract positive and happy outcomes into their lives, positive and happy people, results, energies, etc. Whereas negative people attract their version of those exact same things. You do not want to try to outdo somebody's negative with your positive. I'm telling you, you can try, but you will fail. You're going to use up all your resources, not get any back. And you're probably going to end up at the bottom down there with them when the whole goal was to bring them up with you. And then you learn the hard way. I'm telling you now, so you don't have to learn the hard way. Take my word for it. All right. Negative energy is stronger than positive. Don't try to outdo this. Don't try to outdo math. All that said, folks, make sure you text me so you're in my community. My number's down below in the description. Also, workonyourgameuniversity.com. If you want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach so I can tell you strategically and in specifics how you can actually start making this stuff work for yourself and in your business, how to communicate it and how to find the right people so that you can work with them and serve them at the highest level. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Links down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre, all